Hey y'all, Professor Wyman here. I'm just going to do an example of how to make a graph for the Carter et al. That we're working on in class. So this is going to be a stacked bar chart or bar graph, and it's going to be horizontal so we can match what we have in the actual article. And then this is going to be looking at basically visualizing categorical responses because we're looking at we have an ordinal variable that we're going to visualize. And so we want to visualize the percentage of categories across these different groups. So we have two variables now. You could actually do this as you could create another variable if you want to. That's fine. I don't care how you do it. I'm going to show you the really low tech version just because I think conceptually it helps to go through those steps. You can do this however you want to. You could also use this data in Excel, and you could create a pivot table if you wanted to make your data whatever makes you happy. I'm going to again do this the simple way. So, well, I don't know if it's simple. It's least formulas. Simple in that way. So we are in Jamovi. And in my example, I'm looking at course satisfaction, and I want to look at it by gender and first generation status. So I'm going to go ahead and go to exploration, descriptives. I'm going to go to course satisfaction as my variable. I'm going to uncheck all of this stuff because I don't want mean and standard deviation. I don't want the statistics there. I just want this frequency table. So right now you can see this is broken up by category, but we're gonna add in our two variables here. So we can look by gender and first generation status, and that's gonna give us this information here. So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna copy, and I'm going to paste into Sheets. And this is the sheet that you have in the beginning of or it's in the assignment. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to paste special, I'm just going to paste it. Oh, control paste. I don't know why sometimes that doesn't work. So this, usually we'll do this in kind of a weird format. It depends on your computer, but I'm just going to delete these empty columns just so it's easier to work with. So I'm going to delete column, delete column, delete column, delete this empty column. Just make sure you don't delete any non-empty ones, except for cumulative. We don't need cumulative. We're not going to use that. So I'm going to delete that as well. This percent of total, so this you can see if you look at your variable type, it's set to automatic and it has spaces. So it's not actually going to be a number. And so it's harder to work with. So I'm going to actually just delete this. And I'm going to create a percent. And so this, you could just put the sum down here at the bottom. So we'll do equal sum. We're going to get the sum at 70. And then I could go ahead and get percentages from that. So I'm going to say equals this divided by, and I could just refer to that cell, but it's easy enough to just put divided by 70. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that down. And this we can see is set up as decimals. If you highlight all of this, you can turn it into percent right there. So here we now have numbers and percents that we can use for each of these. But now we need to create combinations. And so this is where you can get way fancier. I am doing, again, not the fancy version of this. I'm just trying to show you how to think through this process. So we can create a new column here. I'm going to do insert column, insert one column left, and I'm going to call this gender FG. So this is going to be my combined gender and first generation status. So I'm going to do, first of all, this is man, this is man, this is woman, this is woman. I could copy this all the way down so that it copies that pattern down for me because it just skips, but should be man, right? So this is dissatisfied for man that is no and yes, first generation. So I'm just going to copy this down. So I modified that, and if I hover over the bottom, drag that down, that's going to copy it for me. So now it's filled in all the way. So now I can create this new variable, and I'm going to do equals. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to use an and sign. Quotation, space, quotation is going to add a space between my two variables. So what I'm going to do is, oops, I didn't do my and. I need to do another and right there, another ampersand. And then if I click there, it's going to combine these two cells for me. And I'm going to press enter, and it keeps a space between them. Now you can see that it wanted to fill the rest of that out for me. And I do need to change one thing here. So this first gen, I want this to say like non-first gen versus no. So I'm going to say non-FG, and this is just going to be FG. And that's going to copy all the way down. So this will be non-FG, that'll be FG. And see how it's changing it for me over here? I'm just going to copy this pattern down again. Again, there are faster, more technical ways to do this. I'm just demonstrating one option, the low-tech option. So now I have this new variable right here. I could copy, and then I'm going to paste this special, and I'm just going to copy the values. I have a merge cell here. So I'm going to deal with this merge cell. I'm going to unmerge it. Now I copy that. I can paste special values only, and that way it's not going to mess up if I change any of this or if I delete it. I'm going to delete that. I don't need that. Now we're getting a lot closer to what we want. Now this is the next part. This is very dissatisfied right here. This is all dissatisfied. This is all neutral. This is all satisfied. This is all very dissatisfied. I'm going to copy this because I want it to be the same order. I'm going to copy there. And then I'm going to go I'm going to go backwards order because that's what our article does. It goes from like most positive to least positive. We could do the other way too, but I'm going to say very satisfied. And satisfied. And you want to do them in order. So these are ordinal variables. So we want to present them in an ordered way. And dissatisfied, very dissatisfied. Again, you could do all sorts of ways to do this. Now, because I have this set up here this way, I can just go ahead and set this up. I can drag this information up here, these counts or the percentages. I think for the purpose of this, I'm going to do percentages. And so you could certainly do counts instead. It's just that percentages, even for small samples, are kind of the standard. So I'm going to move all of my very dissatisfied right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to highlight the 4, hover over it till I get the little white magic hand, and that's going to go to dissatisfied. And then I'm going to grab all of that, and that's neutral. I'm going to move neutral up there. And then I have all of the satisfied ones, and that's going to go up here. And my last drag and drop. I'm just going to move all these there. Now the formulas, because I'm just grabbing and dragging and dropping, the formulas are still connected to the count. So like if I change this count, it's going to change that cell, which I'm not going to do. And then you can leave the counts here, or you could use them. You could delete this. If you do delete the rest of it, then you would need to make sure that you copied this and then did paste special values only. So now that we have that information, again, so many different ways you get to that. This was kind of the slow way because I want to demonstrate what we're doing because we're creating these categories. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this whole thing here. I'm going to insert, and I'm going to insert a chart. And I don't want it to look like this. So this bar chart that it's suggesting is not actually what I want to do. I'm going to use the stacked bar chart. So I'm going to use this, this stacked bar chart here. And then we can change our colors, and we can also change the way that the categories are set up. So I'm actually going to, for some reason it was on switch rows and columns, so I'm unswitching it because I want it to be the way that I had it set up. If you wanted to set it up a different way, you can. I'm going to delete that title. And then this, right now, it has the legend set to auto. I could change the position, so I could put it on the bottom. I could put it on the, I could put it on the right. You can put it wherever you want it. So I think it would be worthwhile just kind of checking and, you know, see what you think looks good. So now I want to create some numbers to go with my category name, or not numbers, some colors to go with my category names. And we talked about doing like blue to red, with, you know, red being very dissatisfied in this example. So I'm going to go ahead and change these. So I want the I want to change this category, these column number, or numbers. I want to change these column colors here. So I'm going to change the fill color, and I'm going to do a dark blue. And then I'm going to click on satisfied, and I'm going to make that a lighter blue. Let's do that. So I want there to be enough differentiation. And then I'm going to use the neutral. I'm going to make that gray. And I'm going to make dissatisfied. Let's make that like a light red. And then this very dissatisfied, I'm going to make a dark red. That's too dark. There we go. So now we have this bar chart. I'm going to change the grid lines and ticks so it looks cleaner. So I'm going to uncheck major grid lines. I'm going to check major ticks. And then I'm going to change my horizontal axis to my vertical axis. And I'm going to add major ticks. You can also change the tick positions, like that's set up as cross. You could change to none so that there's no little line right there. And then we can also add labels to this. So we could add a label, and let's do, I'm going to go to customize series. We could add data labels. And so that shows us what that looks like to add it in those in that category. So that's just for the satisfied group. And you can make them different colors. So ideally you'd be able to have them the same color if you're going to have those labels in there. So I could just go through and apply to all series and do that data labels. And this is something where you might want to go in and click on like single ones. And once you're done formatting, you could go through and remove any that are unnecessary. Like you don't need ones that say 0, for example. But I would wait and, you know, until you know that your data is all collected and all ready. But this shows the patterns that we're looking for. This is kind of the idea of what we've been talking about. So I'll let you play around with that. Again, you can use whatever method you'd like. You could do this in R if you're feeling fancy. You could do this in Excel, but I eventually will want you to copy or copy in your sheet over from your workbook that you're working on. I want you to put it into this workbook. So I'm going to call this example. And then you would go in here and say, I'm going to do this one. And you could put your name if you want to, or you could put what I assigned you. So maybe I gave you spring 2023 pre. And so then you could just copy your chart there. So if you did this in R, you can just copy and paste your image there. This is where we're going to collect our examples. And so I'm going to delete that. But that's ultimately what I want you to do. Now this is just for one question. So we're doing this question by question just to visualize this and see what looks good. So you could add, a formal title to it. If this were in full APA style, then you would have your title above the graph up here. So feel free to do that. So I'm going to end the video here. This is, again, just an example for how you can make that type of graph, and then feel free to play around with it.